Does anybody know? JRC, yeah, or the Jubilee Reach Center, just right down the street. And then 2 years ago, do you remember who we supported? Anybody? It was Laos, yes. We supported a village called Dak Din in the country of Laos. And we wanted to support them through an organization called World Concern. And so we did that, and we were able to provide clean water to that village and some education. And we also provided some healthcare needs to them. And so that was very rewarding. And then last year, do you remember who we supported? Nikkei Concerns. We have some friends from Nikkei Concerns here, so hey, thank you so much for supporting, for coming out again this year. Nikkei Concerns is an organization that they serve the elderly, and they have a particular focus to the Asian American or Asian community. And so they have many services for that community. And so it was a privilege to support them last year. And then this year, obviously, we're supporting the Lake Hills Elementary School, and the funds will go toward their PTA. Yes, yes. Now, just to clarify, you know, it was mentioned that we do hold our services, our worship services here on Sunday, but this benefit is actually not so much because we are here having our worship services, although we're very grateful for their hospitality and letting us use this facility. Tonight is really more about an expression of our desire to have more of a partnership into this community. And our hope is that we could come alongside of Lake Hills and even the Jubilee Reach Center and do more things in this community that will really benefit those who are underserved. And so that's our hope today, is that we would begin to do that. We're going to hear a little bit in just a little bit from more from the teachers and administrators here at the school. But I'd just like to just reiterate how fortunate we are to be in this community. And they're doing some wonderful work here amongst a very underserved community. Our desire to do this, our desire to have more of an impact, isn't just wishful thinking. In fact, what we've done is we have actually created a position on our staff that's going to be headed up by Ann Tran, and Ann is the one who helped coordinate this event tonight. And so let's just give Ann a hand wherever she is. Ann. Ann's just an amazing and gifted leader, and she helped organize this, and she's going to be helping us to have a greater impact in this community. And so we're really excited about that in this coming new year. So I'd just like to thank especially the Lake Hills teachers and administrators. We may have some folks here from the Bellevue School District, but we're just so grateful for you. And I'm not sure if there's anybody here from the PTA. Is there anybody here from the PTA? Thank you. That's great. So tonight we thought it would be a real treat for us to hear from a couple people who are very special to our church and to this community. I'd like to introduce you to a former student of Lake Hills Elementary School, and she is also a member of our church family. Her name is Min. Min, come on up. Min, and it's so fun because Min was a student here, and her teacher, Leanne Kurtz, is also here with us. And so we're going to have Min and Leanne come on up. Let's welcome them. We thought this would be fun just to hear a little bit about their story. It's a pretty unique story. Min was here just 3 years ago or something? No, you graduated here right? In what year?
Spring of 94?
95.
95, okay. So she was here, and she was a teacher here for 17 years, between 1993 and 2010, and now she's teaching at Spirit Ridge. She's a fourth grade teacher now, right? And Leanne was Min's fourth grade teacher, and she loved Min so much, she was her fifth grade teacher as well. And so it's a really cool story. So I'd just like to kind of do this interview style, and hopefully we could hear a little bit more about how a student was impacted by her teacher. So Min, like I said, Leanne was your fourth and fifth grade teacher. And so what was your impression of Mrs. Kurtz when you were a young student?
My impression was Mrs. Kurtz, she just took a lot of time to get to know the students, and she just really invested in them and had a genuine care and concern for each one of her students. I can remember, she really loved sports and she loved basketball, so I can remember her just taking us out during breaks, and we would be like shooting hoops and stuff together with the whole class. Another thing that she did was we wrote in journals, so we could just write anything we wanted to in the journals. We could just talk to her that way, and she would answer questions. And she would write in it as much as we wrote. So I would ask her a lot of questions. I talked to her a lot through these journals. And so I actually got to know her a lot through my journals. And if you can imagine a teacher taking home like 25 plus journals home every weekend or something and working on them, it's just a lot of time that she took to get to know us.
That's pretty amazing. Teachers, they spend so much time outside of the classroom.
Yep.
Leanne, you've had hundreds of students. What was it about Min that stuck out to you?
Okay, well, for one, as a teacher, typically your first class is very special because you can actually remember it. But who wouldn't like a student who actually listened all the time? Well, I thought she was listening all the time when you were teaching, who completed every single assignment, worked really hard, was super nice, like that child you could sit anyone next to, and they would get along. And I think one thing that stood out about her is that she was pretty quiet. And so as a child, I was really quiet too. So maybe that's how I could see myself in her a little bit at that age. But most students in their journals would write, 5 sentences or a paragraph. She would write like 2 or 3 pages. So I had to write 2 or 3 pages back to her.
That's awesome. So I don't know if you guys stayed connected all those years, but how did you get reconnected with one another?
So this is kind of it's a long story. Should I give the long version or the short version?
The medium version.
The medium version.
Yeah.
So it all started like 15 years after I had graduated from elementary school. I had a dream about her one day.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So because she was one of my not supposed to have favorite students, I always had her birthday in my calendar ever since way back then. And in 2010, it was her birthday on a Saturday, and so I Googled her just to see. I hadn't seen her since she was probably in middle school, but I was Googling her on my phone, and so all these different Min Lees on Facebook came up, and the pictures were about that big because my screen was really small then. So I was like, I can't tell which one is her, so I was like, forget it.
So then that same year, it was like a week later or whatever.
Like 2 days later.
2 days later, I had a dream about her. And so this is 15 years later. I had a dream about her, and I woke up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just dreamt about Lee. Or Mrs. Kurtz. I have to email her. So as soon as I got to work, I went onto the Lake Hills Elementary School website to see if I could find her email, because I didn't have her contact information, and I hadn't seen her in so many years. And she was still working at Lake Hills. So I emailed her and I said, hey, this is Min. Do you remember me? I was in your 4th and 5th grade class. And so after a few exchanges, she actually did remember me. And so we decided to meet up for dinner.
Okay, so I haven't seen Min in 15 plus years. And the only thing I knew about her from kids that would come back and visit me was that she had chosen a rather wild path, so to speak. And so I'm driving to dinner, and I'm praying the entire way. And I actually had all my friends praying too. And I'm praying, Lord, I have no idea what to expect. Like, who has dinner 15 years later with their student? Like, she was 10 and 11 the last time I really talked to her. And I just prayed that God would lead our conversation and guide it. But I knew that I was not going to bring up God, because from what I had heard, I knew I wasn't going to bring up God.
So kind of to give a backstory of where I was at that time in my life, after elementary school, and when I was in middle school, I was still going to church, but it was kind of like I'd be going to church on Sundays, and then I'd be living like a completely different life on the rest of the week. So I kind of lived a double life up until even high school, when I actually then completely denounced my faith. And then when I was in college, I was like, God doesn't exist. Or, actually, I thought that a higher power did exist, but I certainly didn't think it was a Christian God. And I didn't really like Christians because I felt like they were very hypocritical.
This is why I was afraid to go to dinner.
I felt like they were very hypocritical, because I myself was very hypocritical when I was growing up. And so in college, I would see some kids. They'd be going to church on Sundays, and then I'd seen them the night before at like a club, partying it up. So I just thought that the whole Christian faith was extremely hypocritical. And during that time, I kind of lived a life of, I was wild, like Lee said. I did whatever I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. Didn't have any regard for really other people. So anyway, I started dating this guy, and he was a Christian. And it's weird that that's a whole story in itself. I was dating a guy who was Christian for 6 months prior to me meeting Lee, and he had nagged me to go to church like every single day. He's like, just please go to church, go to church, go to church. And I'm like, stop talking to me about church. But in January of 2010, I decided that I was going to make a New Year's resolution, and just to kind of appease him, I would go to church just so that I could learn some practical things in life. Not because I believed in God, but because I wanted to kind of be a better person. And while I was going to church, they had a sign up for a retreat to go to, and for whatever reason, I signed up to go to this retreat. Then in March or April of 2010, that's when I had a dream of Lee. We got together, we met up for dinner.
And before we even ordered our food, she started talking to me about God. So pretty much for the next 4 hours, in addition to husband, boyfriend, family and stuff, we talked about God the rest of the time.
Yeah, it was kind of in like a skeptical spirit. I was like, I was just kind of was I interrogating or just asking, like, if this God is real, and if Jesus Christ is real, then why in the world would God send his son to die on the cross? And then why would blood have to be shed? And why it's just so barbaric? And in that fashion, why did he have to die in that fashion if it's even real? And I just thought that God was really, really barbaric if it was real.
So I go home from this dinner, and I I knew she was going to this retreat with, was it Bellevue Prez?
Yeah.
And so I emailed some of my closest friends and I said, please, please, please pray really, really hard that Min would have an encounter with Christ.
So that following Friday, I go to the retreat, and I had gone to the retreat so I could meet some people my age and get to know people. But unfortunately, at the retreat, I didn't get to know anybody. They kind of had their own little cliques and stuff. So I'm kind of thinking, why did I come here? At the very end, there was the last message and the last song, or the last worship session. And the last song that came on, it was a song about Jesus dying on the cross and him just taking away all of our debt. And at that point, a light bulb just went off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get it. I completely understand everything I was asking Lee about that Wednesday. I completely understand why he died on the cross. Like, I get it. And so I was so overwhelmed with emotion, and I just started weeping and weeping. And then I went home and I emailed Lee, and I told her that, I told her what had happened, and then we met up again so we could talk about it.
So we had dinner again the following week, and I'm kind of a chicken, but I really sensed that God was prompting me to ask her, okay, this person that I've only seen twice now in the last 15 years, ask her if she wanted to study the Bible. And I did.
And the old Min, never in a million years would I have done a Bible study with somebody. I mean, I would have been like, oh my gosh, there's no way I would have done a Bible study. But something in me just said, sure, yeah, let's do the Bible study. And it was a pretty intense one where we would meet every week, and there was like homework, like for an hour or something. So we decided to do this Bible study, which Lee really helped guide me during that Bible study. And then through it, like probably after 2 months is when I started to really reconnect with God, and God became so real in my life through the Holy Spirit, using Lee and the Bible study. And so now my life, is completely changed from what it was, a few years ago.
Wow, that's amazing. Just how it all got together. And Leanne, kind of fast forward, because was it last year Min got married? And your husband gets to do the ceremony. Your daughter is a flower girl, and you get to share at her wedding, right?
Yeah.
So what's it been like for you to be back in Min's life?
Okay, that wedding day, the entire day was so surreal. And I got to share the toast at the reception, and the phrase that I kept using was, who'd have thought? Because it's crazy, right, to think that here my student from 1993 is getting married. My husband performed the ceremony. My daughter's the flower girl, and she's become one of my closest friends. And I don't think there's anything better in life than being able to walk alongside someone when they are desiring to know God and hungering and reading His Word, and to see her life changed, truly transformed by God's Word has just been a complete and utter blessing. And it's so clear to see God's hand from that very first time in 4th grade all the way through till now. It's amazing.
That is amazing. So Min, you've been here at our church, and you've helped serve this Lake Hills school. We do an annual cleanup day. We participate in the Jubilee Service Day. What is it about it that compels you to continue to stay involved?
At Lake Hills?
Yeah.
Oh. I grew up here. My parents' house is just like a minute away, and my husband's parents live like a minute away. And this community is just so near and dear to me just because I grew up. Sammamish High School that's where I went for high school. It's so close to here. I just really love the Lake Hills community. because I went here, grew up here. So it's really special to me.
Leanne, it just makes a lot of sense for parents to be involved in their own kids' education. But what would you say, why do you think it's so important for the community to also be involved?
I guess I could give the kind of the cliche answer, which would be, oh, it's an investment in your future because these are our future leaders and community members. But I think on a more personal note, I guess when I was teaching here at Lake Hills, I got to see firsthand the fruit of what it looked like when people in the community were volunteering. We would have a dental van come, and this dental van, there were dentists that were volunteering their time. And I had kids that were in 4th grade that had never ever been to the dentist before. So that's something very simple and practical that the community was able to provide. I've also had, is there a certain way I'm supposed to hold this? I've also had, I can hold it out here. I've also had Vibes mentors come into the class and,
Hold it closer.
Closer? Scary. Okay, I had a student and she had the same Vibes mentor from 1st grade all the way 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. And when that student was in my 4th grade class, she was in a very serious accident and was in the hospital. And when my job share partner and I went to the hospital, the principal was already there, but so was her Vibes mentor. And I think that was just an example to me of how you could be a part of someone's life on a consistent basis. So I asked the mom if it was okay if we prayed. So the 4 of us, the Vibes mentor, the principal, and then my teaching partner and I, we laid our hands on her and we prayed. And it's kind of an example to me of you never know how God's going to use you. And so if you just, like I was talking to someone or chatting with someone over this past week, and I was really nervous about coming and sharing here tonight. And she basically said, all you have to do is show up and let God do the rest. So if you're thinking about getting involved in the school in some way, I encourage you to just do it, to show up and see, what God would have in store for you.
Last question for Min. There's a lot of teachers here. There's staff from the school here. What would you say to them as a former student to just encourage them in their roles as teachers and administrators?
Well, I just want to say thank you to the teachers who have kind of dedicated their lives to the kids. I think that you guys make a really big impact on the kids, whether you know it or not. For me, like even with Lee in middle school, we had to write an essay about who had the greatest impact in your life, and I wrote about Mrs. Kurtz. So for the elementary school teachers out there, you guys really do have such a big impact and positive effect on these kids, whether you know it or not. And maybe you would be fortunate enough, like me, to have meet your student again in the future and make a lifelong friend. But even if you don't, it's your role is so important, and I just really appreciate everything that you guys do.
Thank you so much. Let's give them a hand. And thank you.
Thank you. And now I would actually like to call up from Lake Hills Elementary some of our special guests here. Principal Kathy Myers, Lake Hills Vice Principal Jane Kofstover, Instructional Technology Curriculum Leader Danny Neal, and PTA President Jenny Villegas.
Mahalo. Thank you so much for coming. Can I get some audience participation right now? Can I have you say together? Louder. Together, we're better. One more time. Together, we're better. And that's what this is all about. We are a community, and we're a community of students, of faculty, and of community members. And the reason why it works is because we're all together. So without further ado, I'm Kathy Myers. I'm the proud principal of Lake Hills, and I'm going to introduce the staff members here. There are actually 6 staff members here, or 6 people. I don't know if you can figure it out. There's not 3, there's 6. So because we're a community, I don't need to speak. My community can speak for Lake Hills and explain all the great reasons why you should open your wallet and your heart tonight to support Lake Hills.
Hi, I'm Jane Kopstover. I am the assistant principal at Lake Hills, and I just wanted to tell you that we already have some exciting plans for some of the proceeds from this benefit. We, this year, in order to increase family and community involvement, we are going to be doing Native heritage assemblies. So we had one already in October, and we celebrated Hispanic American heritage. And we invited our community and parents and students to share about their heritage. And after the assembly, one of our students shared with us that it was really the first time that she had the opportunity to share her culture with her classmates. So we have another one coming up, and it is Native American Heritage, and it will be this Wednesday morning at 9:30. We would very much welcome you to attend with us, and we'll make sure you have the details as we continue the assemblies throughout the year. Thank you.
My name is Danny Neal, and I'm the Instructional Technology Curriculum Leader here at Lake Hills. And this is actually my 11th year in the building. I started as a 5th grade teacher, taught 5th grade for 9 years, and actually Leanne Kurtz was my mentor teacher my first year. So it's so amazing to hear the story about her and Min, because I wanted to share a similar story. The support that the community brings is overwhelming, and it's incredible, and we need it. The teachers can't do all of this alone. My first year teaching, I realized the students in my class, many of them, English was their second language. They were struggling in reading and writing, and the materials that I had were for 5th graders. And I really needed to make things meaningful and relevant for my students. And it was with PTSA money and support that I was able to purchase books at various levels and really engage readers. And one particular student really stands out to me. Roberto was a student I had who I also worked with in our after-school program, which PTSA also at the time supported. And Roberto was a kiddo who really struggled. He had just learned English recently. His parents hadn't even gone to high school themselves, but they were extremely attached and at the school every day, asking how he was doing. And so we worked every day and every day after school trying to improve his reading. And he graduated 5th grade, went on to middle school, and the next year I taught his sister Mirsa. She also struggled, and we worked hard, and she went on to middle school. And every year they'd come back and they'd say hi, and they would visit me and tell me how things were going. And 2 years ago, I attended Roberto's high school graduation where he was his class president. Last year, I attended Mirsa's high school graduation. Both of them have full ride scholarships and are in college. Their youngest brother is a 4th grader at Lake Hills this year. And the support that we were able to give just by keeping them interested in learning and providing the after-school support and having the Vibes mentors, I really believe is what kept them going through school and having that drive, and I just want that same support for their brother. It means the world to have PTSA funds support teachers and what it does for our students. I think about our culture of universal achievement at Lake Hills, the idea that we believe every kid will and can go to college, and it's true. Our students might be struggling when they're in elementary school, but like Min said, hopefully if they have that teacher, which I know they do here, that has not changed since I've been here for 11 years, they have that dedicated teacher, they remember that and they keep working hard as they leave and they go on and they are doing fabulous things, but we need your help. We can't do it alone. So thank you, and we're really excited to see you back in the classrooms because I see so many familiar faces from helping me unpack and pack my classroom every year, so thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Jenny Villegas, and I am co-president along with Sylvia Salazar of the Lake Hills PTSA. And being at this event tonight, it really touches my heart. When I came into the PTSA in September, I was really surprised to learn that we did not have any kind of budget to work with. We had a lot of great activities planned, and we were looking forward to providing shirts for all of our children to wear on Spirit Day, our Fridays. We had a lot of great ideas, but the problem was we just did not have any funds to cover these things. Being a firm believer that anything is possible, I've been praying since the beginning that God would have a miracle for us and just kind of work with the PTSA and money would just show up somewhere. I believe tonight is our miracle. I don't think tonight was unintentional. I think God planted this in the hearts of your church to find funds for us and our children. I would like to thank each and every one of you personally. God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate all your help. And thank you from the children and the parents and the staff.
Thank you. I would like everyone to find that envelope on their table. There are envelopes on the table. Those are the giving envelopes. So remember, together we're better. And as I heard at the Jubilee Reach Festival of Trees, we don't want to give till it hurts. We want to give till it feels good. You want to give as much as it's going to make you feel good, because you're doing something great for the Lake Hills community. We appreciate you. Mahalo. And thank you so much for this evening.